You must be a grown-up to watch this video. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello there, my friend. Welcome back. My name is Gavin. This is my channel, and on this channel we talk about true crime cases. We try to cut through the fluff, the sensationalism, and we try to learn something. This is a channel where we really endeavor to learn things. Tonight, what I'm going to bring you is a masterclass in home sleuthing, I think. Now, this person is a professional, but puts on just an amazing class, and I can't wait to share it with you. Also, before we really dig into it, I want to let you know, because I saw a couple comments earlier in the day. On my channel, I'm seldom ever the first to break anything. By the time you come to my channel and we're talking about something, you may have seen it on 3 or 4 other channels. And I actually like it that way because it gives us an opportunity to, I think it gives you an opportunity to come prepared to our conversation. You're usually more prepared than I am, which is awesome for me, especially somebody who's seeking learning. So yeah, what we're going to talk about tonight, you may have seen. You may have seen it on Dateline. You may have seen it over on Courtroom Confidential in lots of different places. But we're still going to talk about it because it is so good that we don't want to miss out on it on the channel. Now, of course, we are talking about the murder of 4 Idaho college students. They are Xana Kernodle, 20 years old, Ethan Chapin, age 20, Madison Mogan, age 21, and Kaylee Gonsalves, age 21, all of whom were brutally murdered on November 13th, 2022 in their home that they shared. Ethan was staying over visiting Xana, but it was a college house, roommates, right? And and here's a picture of the house, but we're going to get into this a little bit more. You guys know this story. I'm just giving the elevator pitch here, right? Okay. Earlier, what was it? Just a few days ago, this man, Bryan Kohberger, pleaded guilty to perpetrating the murders. And he, in my opinion, just made one critical mistake. Now, there were plenty of mistakes made throughout the whole thing, but there was one critical mistake that led to his arrest and prosecution. Had he not made that one tiny mistake, I think maybe he would have been a suspect. I think they would have tried to pin it on him. I think he probably would have been smart enough to lawyer up. I think that he would have been a suspect for a long, long time, and I think that it would have gone unprosecuted. That's just my opinion. I don't know this, nor do I have any like inside knowledge in it. But that one mistake was that he dropped a sheath to his knife that had the teeniest, tiniest little spot of DNA on it. You know what I just realized? Look behind me. Man, I'm such an amateur. If I were a professional YouTuber, I would have turned on that light before we started. There. Oh, okay. That feels better. Okay. So I'm not going to belabor this, but that's what I think. And I'm hoping that you guys are going to talk with me a little bit about this. But before we do, I want to just bring you over to my website, gavinfish.com, and remind you something that I told you about yesterday on July 14th, which is next Monday, which also happens to be my dad's birthday. It's a very special day for me. We are going to begin the Great 2025 Baby Gavin Treasure Hunt. It's an activity that I've been working on for quite a while. I wanted to have it ready for when I was gone to CrimeCon, but didn't get it ready in time. It ended up being a huge project. But it is a 20-clue treasure hunt that hopefully you guys are going to enjoy. If you go to my website, gavinfish.com, actually, there's a link down below. You can just click the link. You can get all the information. Now, there was a little bit of confusion. People wanted to know how to register. You can't register yet. Registration opens on July 14th. That's when it opens. Okay. So you might want to go over there and read the clue, the first clue, maybe get ahead because there are some prizes. There's some prizes. We're going to be giving away prizes to 20 folks. And so please, no, what is it? I don't know. A bunch of folks. Anyway, it's going to be fun. Okay. So please, please, please go check that out. Also, while you're there, click on this little button right here. That will take you to the fish tank where we hang out on Facebook. Lots of stuff going on over on Facebook, including, just lots of stuff over there. And I also want to bring to your attention Crime Cod, which is my true crime website, news website that you can always check out. Okay, now that I've done the obligatory self-promotion, I think we're going to have fun doing it. That's why I'm excited about it. Okay. Let's go ahead and dig into what we're going to be talking about today, which is some work that has been done by a young woman here on YouTube. Her channel is Asget Industries. I'm just blown away by the sleuthiness of this, guys. The sleuthiness of it, going through all the details and creating a 3D video, which many of you have probably seen. If you watched the Dateline episode, you've probably seen it, but we still want to go through it together because I'm just blown away. And I want to learn so much from her. She's amazing to me. So remember that your comments are going to be super important to me as we go along the way. Thank you very much. That's a note for the super chat, by the way. Holy crap. Really appreciate that. And then put GF in your comments if you want me to see your comment so that we can have the discussion. Okay. So let me move this over here, which you guys can't see, and let's go ahead and begin. I bumped up the audio, so hopefully you'll be able to hear it.
Hi guys, since Bryan Kohberger pled guilty today, I feel like we released this full illustration of the Idaho 4 crimes showing Kohberger's movements. It's put together by evidence given to me by media companies like Netflix and others, including more recently Dateline, who hired me to do their 3D modeling for their project. I'm going to include a lot of information into this episode where you can see exactly what took place from moment to moment. Let's get started. In this illustration, we're going to start at 3:30 a.m. At this time, everyone is asleep except for Xana. Looking inside the home, we can see where everybody was. Starting at the 3rd floor, we can see where Maddie and Kaylee were sleeping. Maddie was sleeping on the edge of the bed, while Kaylee was sleeping near the wall.
She says that I muted myself. Sorry about that, guys. I've still got this lingering cough, and I've got cough drops in my mouth. For those of you thinking I'm having a stroke because I'm suddenly lisping, it's because I have to keep a cough drop in my mouth. Anyway, she says that she's gotten most of this information from the media. One of the things that I've noticed is that big production companies, big news companies have been putting in their right to know requests. Well, they call them freedom of information requests in Idaho, and they've been granted a lot of this information that hasn't come out yet. Plus, they've got sources and so forth. So we don't really. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say, hey, this is exactly how they were sleeping, but she did go out on that limb. And so I'm not saying that I know this to be fact. It's just what she is saying.
As we go out and drop down to the 2nd floor, we can see Dylan's room directly under Maddie's room. Continuing across the living room onto the other side of the home, we see Xana's room. She's sitting in bed scrolling on her phone while Ethan sleeps next to her. Minutes ago, she had just finished ordering DoorDash and has all the lights on while she waits. The last roommate to mention is Beth, whose room is on the 1st floor, directly below the living room. As most of them all sleep, Kohberger pulled into the neighborhood for the first time this night at precisely 3:30 a.m. We know this dude.
Watching the timestamps is super important, guys, when you're doing this work. Whenever I am digging into a case, and I mean, admittedly, it's been a while since I've really dug into a case without doing videos and just digging in. The way that I organize it is chronological. It's the way I um, always organize things. And then I think that it's the right way to do it because, I mean, we are linear folks, right? Existing in time linearly, this is how we kind of understand things. And so when production companies or news channels or producers come to me and ask me for information because they know that I've covered it, the stuff that I share, I'll go, oh, wow, this is really organized. So pay close attention. This is very important. The timestamps that she's putting on here. And again, this is Asget Industries. I've got a link to the video down below.
A home security camera that captures the intersection and records the coming and going of anybody that enters that neighborhood. As we continue, Kohberger drives past the home and notices that all the lights on the second floor are still on. He drives on and loops around the apartment complex building. Because of the home security timestamp, we're able to know how long it took to drive this path. On his first pass, it took him 2 minutes and 38 seconds, and this is him leaving on the first pass. Now let's look at his next 2 passes and record the times.
This is so freaking impressive. I love it so much.
And now this is pass 3 of him entering and leaving. When we do the math, we can see how long he took each pass. The last 2 passes were normal without any stopping, but on his first pass, he took an additional 42 seconds to creep by the house or even stop for a time to stare into the windows with the lights on.
By the way, obviously, guys, I'm saying something so just obvious to all of us. The pre-planning that Mr. Kohberger did. I mean, we don't have to say allegedly anymore. He's pleaded guilty to it. He's told the world he did it. But the pre-planning on this it just shows a level. And I don't use this word lightly because it seems to be overused in our society. But this is a level of evil that is almost unfathomable. Planning this out meticulously, he probably thought, oh, if I get there at 3:30 in the morning, everybody will be asleep. Probably because he'd already planned it, right? But oh my goodness, this going in circles thing, just crazy how evil it is.
All this information has been coming from camera A, but there is a second camera located behind the apartment complex building, and we're going to call that camera B, located here. This camera allows us to see how long it took to get from point A to point B, and between the 3 security cameras' data, it took between 35 and 37 seconds. What this means is you didn't stop or park somewhere or go into a different direction. He simply drove straight from point A to point B at regular speed. These times help us understand the DoorDash delivery window. According to court documents, 2 times are noted. One is 3:59
Man, her DoorDasher's got some serious wheels there.
a.m. and the other is 4 a.m.
Am I looking at it? Aston Martin here?
Bringing back our passage chart, we can see that the DoorDash time of 3:59 happens after Kohberger has left the neighborhood and before he returns for his last pass at 4:04. It is possible that the DoorDash driver saw Kohberger as he was parking his car, because a timestamp of 3:59 could be reflected when he took the photo of the food at the front door instead of the time he arrived. So it is possible he witnessed Kohberger staring at the windows as he drove by. Continuing, as the driver leaves, Xena turns off all the lights, sits on her bed, and scrolls on her phone as she eats her food. A few minutes later, Kohberger enters the neighborhood for the last time. But this time, as he drives by the home, he sees all the lights are off. At the camera B location,
makes me wonder how many times he was willing to pass. Like, how dedicated was he to doing it this night? How many times was he going to go around before he saw that the lights were out and now he had the opportunity?
he turns around to head back to the residence as shown in this video. When he returns to the front of the house, he does something unusual. so much so that it's noted in the arrest affidavit. On page 6, it states, when the suspect vehicle 1 is in front of Kings Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. It goes on to say that he continued onto the intersection where he did a 3-point turn.
It makes me wonder, he's like, this is where I'm going to park. Nah, can't really park right here. I'm too exposed, maybe. You know, he's looking around for a better place. I don't know if he just didn't understand that, like, people have ring cameras. I don't know if he just didn't understand that. Like, as a criminology student, you'd think he'd get it, man.
This 3-point turn was captured on camera A, which has a timestamp of 4:06. He appears to be calm and not overly anxious with his driving. As he heads back in the direction of the residence, he takes one last look at the windows to make sure all the lights are off. As he begins to drive around the end of the apartment complex, camera B records the time of 4:07. Fast forwarding a little bit, Kohberger drives to the back parking lot away from other residences. He takes a few minutes looking around and sees that nobody is out and that all is quiet. He eventually grabs his things, gets out of the vehicle, and begins walking to the back of the home. At approximately 4:13 a.m., he begins to make entry.
I'm going to pause it right here. Let's just, I'm dying to know what you guys are thinking here. So let me just go over to your comments and then we'll get back to this, okay? All right. Yeah, she said that this is the extended version that is not on Dateline, and she's got a part 2 coming out. By the way, go to Asget Industries and subscribe to her channel because the this is not the only case that she's doing this on. She's got so many cases where she's done this exact kind of video. It's so professionally done. It is so perfectly narrated. It, like I said, it's a master class in home sleuthing. She just does such a great job. And oh, thank you, Susan Lewis, for gifting the memberships. So glad. You guys are awesome. Her says, I saw this on Courtroom Confidential. Amazing video. Also, Gavin, you're my favorite person. Well, thank you. Stoked for the hunt. Oh, I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoy it. Yeah, Dana says leaks. Probably. Try. Have I tried Delsum for my cough? I'm under the care of a doctor here. Okay. I'm making it through. I'm almost done. Susan says the level of evil you speak of is what makes me think this was more of an homage to Bundy than anything else. Yeah, well, Bundy did. He was a predator of young women on college campuses. You're right. There are a lot of similarities. Now, the main difference is that Bundy got away with it. However, like, I need to backtrack in my mind. Has Kohberger ever gotten away with it? We all seem to think this is his first time. I think it's his first time, but is it possible it's not? I don't know. Do not know. That's a nope. Says such a good video. I've seen it before. Sad but good video. Thank you, Gavin. Danny says hi to the tank. Let's see. JoJo's Crime Lines and Mystery says, Gavin, the DoorDash driver saying I parked right next to him has always been a question in my mind. Good explanation here as to what she actually meant. DoorDash driver in this video is driving like a freaking $600,000 car. Pretty funny, but yeah, that is pretty crazy. Mama Mia says, I don't have Facebook, so I won't be able to play. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry to do this. We're in the middle of this video, and I want to to be able to keep going, but real quick, I've thought about you guys who don't have Facebook, because there are things that are hidden on Facebook, okay? Allegedly. Maybe there are things hidden on Facebook. If you guys have ever read Ready Player One or seen the movie, you know what it means to clan up. Clan up. Get friends, work together. It'll be fun. Okay? It'll be really fun even if you don't have Facebook. If you join a clan, you're going to have fun, I promise. Okay? Couple more before we go. No Belief says, Gavin, I think somebody needs to interview the DoorDash driver to find out where she and Koberger really parked. I always thought it was out back. Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thought. Did the DoorDash driver pull into the front door, which is really the basement door, or the back door, which is the third? Well, it's really the second story floor. I don't know. Sensei Wackadoodle, Gavin, oh my, do you think that Xana spots the rear slider open when she takes the DoorDash to the kitchen, realizes something is not right? Scary. We're going to get into that. Sensei Wackadoodle, you are ahead of us. All right, so let's get this going. Here we go. We're going to continue.
As he steps in, he takes a minute to make sure everything is quiet and that nobody is truly up. He walks to the entrance of the living room and looks around. He continues to be cautious and stands there listening.
Guys, the amount of chutzpah it would take to like, even if you got nerves and left, but you're like doing your first major crime because it's something you always wanted to do. You wanted to be a serial killer. You studied criminology. You are now in a house where you are about to commit the ultimate crime. I'm not praising here at all. It's no, far from it. What I'm saying is the amount of determination that he must have had that he wants to do this. I mean, what is it in a human that does that? What is it in the human animal that goes, yeah, I'm going to do this? Because at any point, nobody's seen him. He could back out, go out the sliding glass door, and drive away.
Feeling confident, he continues upstairs. As he makes his way to Maddie's room, the time is about 4:14. Meanwhile, 2 minutes later, Xana takes a break from TikTok and walks into the kitchen. Evidence shows her activity on the app stopped at 4:16. As she enters the kitchen, she's a little shocked to see the sliding glass door wide open. And at the same time, she hears a serious commotion going on upstairs. A source revealed that Xana's phone recorded steps and elevation change, which is how it's known she went to the kitchen and the third floor. When she walked up to Maddie's doorway, she interrupted Koberger, who had just finished an intense battle with Kaylee, who fought back violently. After a second or two, he notices her, and then she turns away. Being dark, Xana didn't realize what she was seeing other than a shadowy figure.
Oh, man. Now, again, Koberger, was he there just for one? Was he there for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? How many was he there for? Maybe he was just there for one. But because the DoorDash had been there and she went up to the kitchen and then just happened to see what was going on, maybe not even realizing. I mean, who would imagine there's an intruder in here and he is committing the ultimate crime against my friend? I don't think that would even, would that even compute? It's the middle of it's 4 a.m. And then Koberger follows her down. Oops.
Out of fear, she quickly leaves. A single source, unaffiliated with the media, claims Koberger injured Xana on the third-floor hallway, leaving evidence of blood there. But this single source of information has not been validated by any more sources. Continuing, Koberger, without thinking, pursues her all the way to her room, not realizing he had dropped the sheath of his knife.
That's the main mistake.
When he gets to the room, he attacks Xana, and the time is precisely 4:17:30. We know this because of camera A captured the sound of screaming and the thud.
Oh.
After attacking Xana, Kohberger focuses his attention on Ethan and attacks him while he slept. Afterwards, Kohberger must have sat down in a chair according to a report, which found blood smears on Xana's chair, perhaps from the exhaustion of what he had just done.
We understand, by the way, that those blood smears were not just from Xana and Ethan. He brought evidence from the other room down into this room.
The source also says that blood from the 2 roommates upstairs were found in Xana's room, showing that it was one person moving from one room to another. Kohberger sitting down was for less than 30 seconds.
That's really interesting. That's the conclusion that was arrived at, right? That it must be one person dragging evidence from one room to the other. I mean, there must be other evidence as well, footprints, like shoe prints. I don't know, but I find that interesting. That is the conclusion that they came to.
Gets up to leave. Dylan, hearing the commotion from Xana's room, gets up out of bed and goes to her door to look out into the hallway. She freezes and sees Kohberger as he walks by and exits through the kitchen. She immediately closes and locks her door and retreats to her bed. Within 20 seconds of the encounter, she's calling and texting her roommates, but no one is responding. It takes Kohberger a minute and a half to get to his vehicle after the encounter with Dylan. But once in his car, he flees the scene at a high rate of speed and exits the neighborhood at 4:20.
Interesting that he sped away.
Dylan continues.
It seemed like he was cool during the whole thing, at least how it's presented here. But he speeds away.
Trying to reach someone in the house.
Probably hopped up on the adrenaline, and this is horrible. Hopped up on the adrenaline of having accomplished the thing that he wanted to accomplish.
And after 3 minutes of trying, Bethany wakes up and responds to the calls. They converse for 3 minutes, and then Beth convinces Dylan to come downstairs. The time is now 4:26 a.m. Cautiously, Dylan walks into the hallway and through the living room. As she approaches the staircase, she can see into Xana's room and sees her laying on the floor. She then runs.
I feel so much sympathy for that girl because I know that it took a long time for them to call the police, call 911. But in the middle of the night, I don't think I would be in such a fog. I don't want to give too much away, but they talked about how Xana was killed and Ethan was killed while he slept. There's some of us that just sleep through anything. And if you're roused in the middle of the night, man, Kimberly makes fun of me because I'm just not coherent, right? So I empathize with the survivors here, even if they looked in and saw Xana on the floor, even if they saw the intruder, not thinking clearly, I think is a very human virtue. What it would be a very human thing to do.
Quickly downstairs to Beth's room, where they lock the door and for several hours continuously try contacting the other roommates. Back to when Kohberger left the neighborhood, he drove a particular route that would exit onto a road that leads straight to Washington state line. And about that same time that Dylan runs to Beth's room, Kohberger is entering Washington state. This is all part of Kohberger's pre-planning, including finding a place to stop and get rid of any evidence. This place here fits that planning. This area here, pointed out by the arrow, is a little group of trees with a small area that you can park a car on. This is what it looks like from the road. At 4:30 in the morning, while changing clothes and getting cleaned up at this location, one could feel completely safe while being able to see the headlights of a car coming from miles away. As this pivots around, you can see how this is out in the middle of nowhere, and a pre-dug hole near some of these trees would hide forever any evidence that Kohberger was trying to get rid of.
I don't think that she's saying that is what happened, just that's an option.
To remember that Kohberger was studying criminal behavior and the legal system. This would have motivated him to plan things to the smallest of details, like plastic on the seats to conceal DNA, or crossing state lines because the jurisdiction of one area would take hours to get assistance from the other. He's also smart enough to know that this 10-minute stop would likely never be on the radar of the authorities, especially after he crosses back into Idaho and then turns his phone back on. Let's pick back up where we left off at his 10-minute stop. He continues on with his plan, knowing that he's completely cleaned up and that there's no evidence to tie him to any of the crime if he were pulled over at this point. After getting on Highway 95 and turning south, he turns his phone back on at 4:48 a.m. This section of Kohberger's travels comes from his cell phone data extraction. Let's orientate ourselves to this map and get a better understanding of the timing. Kohberger leaves Kings Road residence at 4:21 a.m. Just 8 minutes later, he arrives at his stopping point where he gets rid of all the evidence. After the cleanup, he then drives back into Idaho and turns his phone back on.
Again, this timeline is perfect, right? What I mean is not that the timeline is perfect, that she figured out the timeline as, as an amateur sleuth is really impressive.
Which occurs near a town named Blaine. This was referenced in the arrest affidavit along with the next town called Uniontown. The last place to reference is where he's seen on cameras near his apartment at 5:25 a.m. Using Google tools, we can get accurate timing information. This entire route took 54 minutes. If we add the 10 minutes stopping time to that, it would be an hour and 4 minutes. Now, if you add that hour and 4 minutes to the time he left King Road, it would equal 5:25 a.m., the same time the camera captures him on the cameras near Washington State University. The last thing to compare is this part of the route, which has a reported time of 38 minutes to drive without any stopping. Bringing back the time record and adding in the second leg information of 38 minutes, we can now add that time to when he turned his phone back on, which was at 4:48 a.m. After adding the 38 minutes to that time, it gives us 5:26 a.m., nearly the same time that was captured on the campus cameras.
Pretty great, man. So go to Asget Industries and definitely subscribe to her. Let's bring up our victims while we have a conversation on this last part. Just want to see what you guys have to say. Let's see. One man's trash, as Taninka's 2 cents says, balls of a burglar, literally. Yeah. Joanne Marie says it's called depravity. Yeah. Completely depraved. It's just crazy. The amount of planning, and then what intestinal fortitude to pull it off, to go through with it. Because listen, the way that people are created, we are all very, very similar. Human nature never changes, right? The vast majority of people that have some sort of fantasy, whether it is criminal, whether it is sexual, whether it is innocent, usually keep everything in the fantasy realm. Very few people can take that fantasy and pull it into the real world. The scary part is when those fantasies are violent, criminal, predatory, just depraved in nature, right? But the fact that he was able to do this, it's not something that we should admire at all. We should study it. Like, what is it about him that made it possible where he could leave the fantasy world, take it into the real world, and take the lives of these poor kids? Like, it's wow. Sassy's Fabby says it's the psychopath in him. Uh-oh, hers is getting ahead. I already figured out clue number 1. I'm so ready for this. Yeah, I put clue number 1 out there so you guys can see it, right? They're all going to be clues in the form of prose. So yeah, now you won't be able to register it, and keep in mind that you have to do everything in order. Okay. All right. Glad you're having fun. Patty says this animation is so eerie. Yeah, it's so well done. Sassy's Fabby, I don't understand how he would think they would be asleep if they just got DoorDash. Yeah, that would be one of those things where he I'm gonna cycle through our victims here. I mean, was he just so hopped up on adrenaline and wanting to get it done? He had done all the planning. He had picked his target. He was doing the thing that he had always dreamed of, and he just wasn't going to let one thing that went wrong that night to ruin everything that he had planned so meticulously for. Because you're right. If DoorDash was there, chances are there's somebody awake there. You're absolutely right. Good job, Sassy's Fabbies. Love it. Shay says, this is scary but fascinating. You're right. JoJo's Crime Lines and Mysteries says, Gavin, in my opinion, I think he was there for Maddie. The others were just because he did not want to leave witnesses. When it came to other two, he did leave. Dog barking scared him into running out of there. So you think he was just there for Maddie? Yeah, it's possible. Carmel Alvarado says, Gavin, just like Hinckley, he killed to impress his professor, other YouTuber reported. Yeah, de nada. No es nada. On the same lines, Ever Love Me 77 says, Gavin, I feel like maybe adrenaline saved the other roommate. He was just focused on getting out. Yeah. Let's see. Let me just keep going here. Good point, God's secretary. Now I know your handle. You've told us why it's God's secretary. It just makes me giggle that you'd think that somebody. Never mind. I don't want to be. Never mind. God's secretary says they were drinking too, so that would make them sleep harder. Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Good point. Just refresh. Let me just. Yeah. Oh, Susan says, Gavin, I think it was so much to experience at once. Dylan couldn't comprehend what she was seeing and hearing. Yeah. And trying to compute something that just would be completely out of left field, right? It's not within her realm of possibility. I mean, guys, it takes a while for the human brain to go "Doot, doot, 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 doot," and like figure things out, right? A good example of this is in when you're training for self-defense using a firearm. The rule of thumb is that somebody can get to you and disable you faster than you can draw your firearm if they're within 21 feet, because you're just like you're computing what is happening here. Oh, I better defend myself. The average person, they can get in on you within 21 feet. It takes a while for us to realize what is going on. And Susan, I think you're probably right. I think she just wasn't computing. She couldn't get it. And I don't blame her, and none of us should. And I don't think any of us do. I think that she's going to live a long, I hope she lives a long life, and I think it's going to be really hard in moments for her. Oh, let's see. Joyce says, Gavin, I beg to differ regarding Koberger speeding away. He knew he totally effed up with so many obstacles. Yeah, maybe that's it. Yeah, absolutely. That's a that's a good point. Robin says, even watching this video or hearing about this crime is unfathomable to us. Imagine the unfathomable happening in your college house in the middle of the night. Yeah, yeah. And by the way, and I'm going to say this with all the love and sympathy that I can muster, because you guys know I have 3 adult children. Kimberly and I, we have 3 adult children. And we were once young adults, college-aged young adults ourselves. So I'm going to say this with all the love and sympathy that I can bring it out. That age of person is stupid. They don't mean to be, and I say stupid just for comedic effect. They're inexperienced. They don't know what's going on in the world. I think maybe those of us who are more aged, more we've been on the vine longer, right? Uh, it might compute faster for us. It might not, But at that age, especially you're drinking, you're in college, you're young, you're inexperienced, you're naive, uh, you're again, and this is like you're foolish in that you just haven't learned wisdom yet. Sure. Um, I can't imagine that at that age I would have been able to figure out what was going on. And then there's the added component of going, if this is really going on, I'm scared and having terror take over, right? I mean, forget just the ability to understand what is going on. Now panic sets in. That's tough. Yeah. Well, I mean, we need to be really sympathetic to these survivors, and we need to extend as much grace as we can. And I think we all are. I think by and large everybody is. Carol says, I don't ever think I've seen the blood seep outside of a house like the picture that was shown early on. I wasn't sure if that was real or not, but it's been so long since we saw that. It was a couple years ago. Um, I mean, just thinking of the mechanics of it, a house that has been there since the 60s or 70s, especially in a high desert climate, even in a place that snows, it's very low humidity. That would be dried out wood. Anytime um, moisture would be added to it, it would lap it up. So maybe it is real, and maybe that's what happened. Kelsey says, Gavin, I heard the DM thought she was dreaming because of how drunk she was, and the other roommate, Beth, didn't hear anything, so that is why they didn't call the cops until later. Yeah, and that would be completely understandable if that was the way it happened. Sensei Wackadoodle. Sensei Wackadoodle, I am curious which of I'm assuming Japanese martial arts are you a sensei of? I'm just curious. Just curious. Okay, Gavin, what do you think Koberger thought and felt, and when do you think he realized he didn't have the sheath? I hope he pooped his pants, putting it politely. um, I bet he didn't realize it until he was long gone. That's what I bet. And I think that he went to great lengths to make sure that no DNA was on it and just messed up. So if he had a moment where he's like, where's the sheath? Where's the sheath? He may have said to himself, it doesn't matter. Who cares? There's no evidence on it. I'm this smart guy. I've planned this out. I've studied this. It's not going to be a problem. And he didn't know that there was just the tiniest little bit. Yeah. So maybe he panicked. Maybe he was just like, doesn't matter. He's pretty cool cucumber, man. Blessed GG of 10. Well, does that mean that you have 10 grandchildren? Is that what GG means? I hope so. Or kids or parrots. I don't know. But Blessed Gigi says, this is my first time here. I wish I knew about this channel. I'm from the Moscow area. God bless you. I'm impressed. Well, thank you. Though you shouldn't be all that impressed with me. You should be impressed though with Asget. Oh my goodness. Asget gets the gold star, man. Pretty amazing. And I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much, Gigi. Proud Danish says, Gavin and everybody, good evening. I almost made it in time, busy packing, moving in 6 days. Well, I wish you well in your move. That sometimes, moves can be hard sometimes. It is a horrible case. A couple more before we go. Vlad says, what I get so far, he trained for it and it was his Super Bowl. There, that is well spoken. Well, I spoke it. Is well written. It is well observed. Yeah, he trained for it. He worked. He planned it. It was going to be his Super Bowl. And if he got away with it, he probably would have done it again and again. Gavin, do you think since Koberger pled guilty. Would this admission cause root barrel addict Stephen Stearns to plea? I wonder how much he pays attention to other criminals out there. Like, Stearns was a different creature. Stearns was I mean, both predators, both deadly, just different kinds, right? Koberger strikes me as a guy that wanted the professional or personal glory of having gotten away with it, like um, like the Thomas Crown affair, where he steals the painting and then he puts it in a place that only he can enjoy, very temporarily, and it's really about having gotten away with it, getting a little trophy for a moment, right? That kind of thing. Stearns, to me, he doesn't get the satisfaction in the getting away with it. He gets the satisfaction in the doing it. To me, there's a differentiation between the two. He's like, maybe he's feeding his illness. Maybe he's got, like in Dexter, the dark passenger, something that's kind of making him do it. He's got an addiction. There's something wrong with him. Whereas Koberger just seems like a calculated killer that wants to get away with it and just bathe in the glory of having done so. Joining the pantheon of the greats. I think there's a difference in the way that they see the world. Now, having said that aloud, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is just like some guy in Western Pennsylvania talking. I have no idea. Root Barrel Addict, though, is funny. He does love those root beer barrel candies. Yeah, could Koberger be trying to copy Bendy's infamous murder of the four girls at was it Q Omega in Florida? I can't remember how they said that. Chi Omega or whatever it's called. Chi Omega. I don't know. How does Ethan sleep through this getting killed feet away? Listen, I would sleep through it. There could be a tornado that hits the room next to our bedroom. I will sleep through it. There are just those of us who do sleep that way. Um, Plus, they were drinking. That's what I think. Maybe he's just really tired. JoJo's Crime Lines and Mysteries. Gavin, one thing that everyone has to remember that these were all college students that are just starting out in life and still naive about the real risk of life. Indeed. Completely agree. That's really interesting. Yeah, because do you think a locked door would have stopped him? My guess is that he knew that that door was unlocked before he ever went out there. I think he's been casing this place. He had to have. Would it have stopped him? Listen, I bet that college town is chock full of houses that are unlocked with college kids coming and going at all hours. Yeah, it might have stopped him, or it may have delayed him or made him go after somebody else. JoJo's Crime Lines and Mysteries. Gavin, what are your thoughts on the fact that he left the sheath as a calling card? I don't see that. Is it possible? Yeah, I just don't see it. Gavin, I don't want to detract you from this conversation. You mentioned you were working on interviewing someone from. My team is working on getting somebody to interview in the Lily and Jack Sullivan case up in Nova Scotia. Also, I should have told you guys this at the beginning. Tomorrow, we're going to have Anna Sonoda on for the third installment, then final installment in our series on predators and how to keep our children safe. So if you really like this idea of learning through true crime, please join us tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Go back if you haven't seen them. We've had 2 conversations so far. Just search Anna on my channel. You'll find them. Mooney giving away the memberships. Mooney's the best. The OG. Sensei says, as much as I would like to pretend to be a sensei of martial arts, I'm just a sensei in dealing with internet troll wackadoodles and thought it would be a funny YouTube handle. Well, it is a terrific YouTube handle. So you're like ying through the trolls. You're doing a hoist. Yeah. My family, we have studied martial arts together, and the one that we elected is a Japanese martial art. So that's why I asked. Yes, Tina, thank you very much. 2 months as a fanatic. Thank you very much. And my mods are amazing. Skipper D says, agreed. When I was in college, I only thought I knew everything. No clue. When I had teens, they were stupid too. That's just the way it is. Oh my goodness. I think back on myself. Just how did my parents not slap me? I had to be a lot to take. Oh my goodness. We're just so dumb at that. Everybody is. It's universal. It's universal. We're just so inexperienced. We don't know. We think we do, but we don't, like you said. Yes, it was the Sullivan case. So yeah, we're working on some interviews there. Oh, interesting. Kessler, when Bundy attacked the sorority house, he tried to kill 4, but 2 survived. Did BK want to prove he could outdo Bundy? Wow. Wow. Popping the cough drops is sending me. That's funny. Yep, Stephen Stearns is a whole other kind of creep, indeed. Joy agrees with me. The personal glory. Thanks for the perspective. You're welcome. I really wonder if the crime scratched the itch for Coburger, or was it not like he thought it would be? I think that he will be studied for years and years and years, trying to understand. Just trying to understand him. I'd be curious to see or to learn what his childhood was like. And sometimes it doesn't even compute. It could have been great. And I know that like old classmates are out there talking about it, but I'm in the long game. I wanna learn that about him. A couple more things before we go. Bless Gigi. It's amazing how as you get older, the more your parents know. Indeed. Oh my goodness, that is so well spoken. I said it again. So well written. The yeah, yeah. It takes a while too. It's not like you reach 30 and go, "Oh my goodness, my parents are geniuses." Like I'm 49. I turned 50 this year, and I'm still every once in a while coming away with, "Yeah, I had that figured out." It's usually for me anyway when our kids are doing stupid things that I once did as a stupid person. Like, oh, my parents told me not to do this. They said, "Trust me." They said, "I've done this. I know where it leads," and I did it anyway. And now here I am watching my kids do it. Denise, this is our last comment of the night, guys. Thanks for spending some time with us. Do you think that maybe Dylan looked out the door, but he didn't see her because he was so consumed with what he just did? Yeah, possible. Completely possible. Or maybe he just turned the corner at the exact right moment, right before she opened the door. It could be something like that. Anyway, my kudos to Asget Industries. Go check her out. Subscribe, and check out her videos. They're amazing. They're a lot like this, and I'm looking forward to seeing part 2. I'm gonna keep my eye out for it because I just want to see it. I think I think what she did is really compelling. I'm looking forward to seeing what she does next because she's calling this part 1. Like if we go to the beginning of this, she's calling it part 1, and I think that we're going to see. I can't wait to see what we see next. So I'm subscribed. I hope you guys do too. Okay, last thing before we go is just real quick. Remember the great 2025 Baby Gavin treasure hunt is going to be on. And yeah, I can't wait. I hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you do. And if you're on Facebook, come join us over on the Fish Tank. We like to hang out, talk about all things true crime. Tomorrow we're going to be back with Anna Sonoda. She is a licensed clinical social worker. She is the author of Duck Duck Groom, which is a guide to teach parents how to prevent the predation of their children. We've already talked about two things. One is the grooming aspect of it. That in part 2, we talked about the access part of it, and tomorrow we're going to be talking about the space. So I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you guys will join me tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. With that, I shall bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.